This is an impromptu video. I'm coming out here because I have heard too many times during this whole CV crisis, go out and get yourself some chickens. Get some chicks. I'm going to join my friend Damerow at Appalachia's Homestead and say, please do not panic buy chickens or chicks. Please do not. The worst thing you can do is go out and on the fly, when you've never had interest in chickens before and don't know a blessed thing about them, to go out and buy chicks, especially chicks. When you don't know what they need. There are a lot of myths about chickens. I've even saw somebody said, well, you know, if you think you want to fly under the radar. See, a lot of people who are trying to get they're thinking about getting chickens. Oh, I think I want to get a few hens and I can fly under the radar because I don't have a rooster that's going to make noise. You've never heard hens caterwaul, have you? Hens are noisy wenches. Let me tell you, I've had chickens for over 14 years now. I belonged to backyardchickens.com before its current incarnation. I joined, I think, about 15 years ago. I researched how to build a predator-proof coop. I researched how to fortify everything, that I had to have not chicken wire, I had to have hardware cloth with little tiny half-inch squares, and it had to be properly attached with screws backed by washers, not with staples. Chicken wire does nothing to keep out predators, it only keeps chickens in. I learned how to cover every little opening in a chicken coop, the windows, every little ventilation hole at the top with hardware cloth. I learned how to build a predator-proof coop, and I built it before I even got chicks. I did my homework. I did my research. Now everybody's in a panic. Oh my God, I gotta get chicks. And the problem is, right now, feed stores have chicks. Well, that's unfortunate. I hate to say, that's very unfortunate. Because if you get little pullet chicks, pullets are hens, pullets are the females. First, there is always sexing chicks is an art, not a science. So there is always a possibility that you will end up with a male, even though you're supposed to be buying sexed pullets. They're not going to give you your money back unless you have more than a 10% discrepancy. And you're stuck with what you get. And what are you going to do with that rooster if you didn't want one in the first place? But unfortunately, they've got the chicks. But 14 years ago, 15 years ago, I started doing my research. I got books. I was on the internet. There are books like a classic, Gail Damerow's Storey's Guide to Raising Chickens. Now, this is an old version. They have a new cover on it now. Classic, classic, classic. There is a really nice little one, Rick and Gail Lutman's Chickens in Your Backyard, a beginner's guide. And my friend and the owner of the current backyardchickens.com co-authored this book, Raising Chickens for Dummies. Rob Ludlow owns backyardchickens.com. He co-authored this book. And he sent me, of course, he sent me the signed copy. But please, please, please research how to raise chicks. Do you know they need heat? Do you know they need a certain temperature when you first get them? That they can't just be thrown out in the building and you hope they survive. They'll be dead within 2 days. Do you know that they need heat, especially this time of year? They need heat for about 6 weeks, more or less, depending on how the temperatures go, how fast they feather out. When they're fully feathered, that's when they generally cease to need extra heat, especially at night. They may not need heat during the day, but they may need heat at night. Do you know they need extra heat? Do you know they need a dry environment? Do you know they need dry bedding? When you first get chicks in a brooder and you got a heat lamp, you know they gotta have room to get away from that heat too. You don't want to cook them. Do you know that you don't put newspaper in there? Newspaper's slick. They can get what's called splay leg from walking on slick, poopy newspaper. Did you know you can't put newspaper in a brooder? You're supposed to put something else. Paper towels are better. And then you put shavings, wood shavings, pine shavings. Did you know that? Did you know there's something called coccidiosis that is very common in chicks 4 to 8 weeks old? Especially during wet times. Did you know that? Do you know how to treat it if they get it? Did you know there's medicated feed and non-medicated feed? Do you know what the medication's for? Do you know what the pros and cons are of medicated versus non-medicated? Do you also know that medicated feed doesn't necessarily work? Do you know that there are vaccinations, but vaccinations, there are pros and cons to vaccinations for chickens. None of mine are vaccinated. There's a lot of information to do with that. Why I don't vaccinate my chickens against anything. Did you know chickens molt? Did you know that about 18 months old, they start to lose and replace their feathers? They can be almost naked. And do you know during the time they molt, they don't lay eggs? Or they're laid at a very reduced rate. Generally, they stop laying for weeks. Did you know that? Did you know chickens don't lay an egg a day, necessarily? Certain breeds are more prolific layers than others. Did you know that? I've heard people claim, these chickens lay 2 eggs a day. Not possible. It's not possible. It takes around about 23, 24 hours to form the next egg. Did you know that? If you don't do your research, you know what you're going to do? You're going to get a bunch of little chicks and you're going to kill them. You're going to sign their little death warrants. That's what you're going to do. And when you get chicks, they're not going to lay for around about 5-6 months. Some of them don't lay for longer than that. I've had certain breeds not lay for almost a year. It's individual too. And guess what? In a few months, what's going to happen is if they actually survive their owners, and a lot of them are not going to survive their owners because just like this hellacious, horrid trend of getting Easter chicks, which I abhor with all my being, they're going to, on a whim, because they're scared, grab a bunch of chicks, and if those chicks actually manage to survive, what's going to happen in a few months when these people are not scared anymore, when they think, eggs are back in the store, I don't need my chickens anymore. Will you take my chickens? I don't want them anymore. Hell no. Guess what? I don't buy adult birds from anyone. You know why? Because it's a disease risk. And do you know why I don't? Because most chicken diseases are like herpes viruses. Do you know about herpes? Stays in the body forever. You are a carrier. They can infect others. There are diseases that are reportable to the state. If you get, most chicken diseases are passed bird to bird. Not through the egg, but to the chick, but through bird to bird contact. That is why I never buy chickens. Ever. I don't even buy chicks from individuals. I hatch everything here. You don't know about chicken diseases, do you? You haven't thought about that, have you? Do you know about reproductive malfunctions? Did you know that a lot of these layers that say Tractor Supply sells, that they call them red pullets? A lot of them are hybrid layers. They're not really a breed. They're called golden comets or cherry eggers or some trade name for a hybrid layer. Do you know that's not a true breed? They're bred to lay like gangbusters for 2 years, and then all of a sudden the internal laying, egg yolk peritonitis, all the things start up that are going to kill the hen slowly. And you're not going to lay anymore. They may last for months, building up cheesy masses of infection and cooked egg yolk in their bodies, and then they will die. And you won't know what's happening unless you know what's going on, unless you know what the hybrid layers are prone to. Most hatchery breeds that are the common hatchery layers that they sell are not bred for longevity. Why would they be? Cuts into their business, right? So there's so much you don't know about chickens. No, it's not brain surgery, but there is a learning curve, especially to raising little chicks. They have to have chick starter. Don't get a bunch of chicks that throw corn in there. Oh my God, corn is not chicken feed. They need a certain level of protein as chicks. They need a little less protein as layers, but they still need a certain level of protein, and they need certain levels of calcium to produce strong egg shells. You can't just get chicks to throw out cracked corn. Corn is totally inadequate nutrition. It's like getting your child and feeding them sugar pops all the time. It's not going to provide adequate nutrition for your child. It's not going to provide adequate nutrition for your chicks. You're going to have problems, and they're not going to lay for you. So please, 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 do not get chickens until you grab a book. Amazon's still selling books, last time heard. You can even get this stuff on Kindle. You don't even go order, just get them on Kindle. It's instant buy. It's instantly on your Kindle if you've got a Kindle. I have a lot more books like this in my arsenal. I haven't had to read them in years, but I researched the heck out of this subject before I ever got my first chicks. And there's a lot of things that you find out later that you experience along the way that are not actually addressed in the books even. So please, please, by all that is holy, please do not go out and get chicks until you read how to raise them. Please. So, if you've never had any interest in chickens before, and all of a sudden you think, oh, it might be a good idea to, don't. Just don't. Just don't do it. I heard of a guy in Kentucky one time. He literally, this is a friend of mine. He said this in a group. He said, these hens, look, they're losing all these feathers. And he said, I thought they had a disease. And he said, I just culled them all. It means he killed these hens. You know what was wrong with them? They were in their annual molt. There was nothing wrong with them. He executed these hens because he thought they had a disease. That's how ignorant these people can be. So that's somebody who never tried to learn a lick of information about the birds he was raising. Please, please don't do this. I have chickens, and when I have hatching eggs or chicks, I don't sell them unless I know where somebody's going to keep these birds. And I've actually asked to see the housing before I sold chicks to these people, because I care about my birds. They need a predator-proof environment. They have to have a coop. They have to know how to feed them. And please just don't sign their little death warrants by being ignorant and refusing to do any research. There are so many videos on YouTube. Yes, some of them by people who are pretty dang ignorant themselves. And I would recommend any video by Appalachia's Homestead, by Guildbrook Farm. Look those up. I have videos on how to raise chickens myself and on chicken diseases on this channel. You can look at those too. I don't have any specific to raising chicks, but I do have them on chicken diseases and how to manage your flock. I do have those. So you can look at those, but for specifically on raising chicks, look at Appalachia's Homestead and look at Guildbrook Farm. If you won't take 5 minutes to look at a video, you are not fit to own chickens. You just aren't. You're not. If you won't take 5 minutes to do that, or to get a book and read it, then you are not going to be a good chicken owner. I'm very passionate about this subject, and I have been passionate about this forever. I just cannot stand it when people ignorantly grab animals, any kind of animals, and have never done any research, and then all of a sudden they're going, will you take these chickens? I just don't like them, or they look ratty and I don't know what's wrong with them. Hell no, I won't take your chickens. I take nobody's chickens. And I feel sorry for the poor birds, but I'm not gonna risk the health of my healthy flocks and bring in your birds that God only knows what they've got because you didn't know how to manage them. No, I'm not gonna take your birds. Heck no. I have chickens all around me. I have chickens, the neighbors, not right close, not the next door neighbors, but I hear them all around me. And if chickens wandered onto my property, I would have to kill them. I can't let them around my birds. I would have to execute those birds. The lady across the road from me got a couple of hybrid layers. First off, she told me coyotes didn't kill chickens. And she let them free range around her little house, which is the intersection of several roads that are predator highways. She doesn't have a fence around. I have a fence around my property. That at least slows them down. She has nothing. She had nothing. And we warned her, and we also told her to keep the chickens on her property, keep them off our property for disease reasons. Yeah, they probably were fine. I don't know where she got them. Eventually, first I came across a pile of feathers in the road. I knew one of them had been taken by a predator, probably a fox, because it was during the day. Had to go tell her that one of her chickens was dead. My husband went and followed the trail and found the head of one of the chickens in the woods across one of the roads. And then the next thing I know, the second one, she called and said, "Why would a hen not be able to walk?" Not enough information, but the chickens were about 1.5 to 2 years old by then, if I remember, and I'm thinking probably being a red golden comet type bird, I think that she probably had internal laying and she was dying. So do your research. People, like Patera said, people say, well, it's just chickens. No, it's not just chickens. No, it's not. They are special birds. They're special animals. They're more intelligent than people give them credit for. They're more dignified than people give them credit for. And they deserve to have proper care. And if you're not going to research how to give them proper care, for God's sake, don't get them. It's not worth it. And the feed costs you money, and they do not lay an egg every single day. Every bird's not going to lay an egg every day. And it's going to take you months of feeding them before they start to lay. And that's if you're lucky and the predators don't get them first. If you haven't thought about how to build a predator-proof coop and run, you may have spent all that money for nothing, and you lose them all. And yes, raccoons can climb. I once had somebody tell me, raccoons can't climb. You ever seen a raccoon in a tree? Of course he can climb a fence. Seriously. So, okay, don't be one of those people, okay? Don't be one of those people. Just please, do your research. Like I said, one of the classic books is this Gail Damerow book, Storey's Guide to Raising Chickens. Raising Chickens for Dummies, co-authored by my friend Rob Ludlow. Good book. There are so many books about raising chickens. One's called Living with Chickens. There are so many excellent books on raising chickens. And backyard chickens, not commercial chickens, but backyard chickens. So, that's all I have to say, except that, once again, to the people saying, I'm going to get some hens, and I'm not supposed to have them in my neighborhood per covenant, but I'm going to fly on the radar because I'm not going to get a rooster that makes noise. Do you know why I got a rooster the first time? When I first started, I didn't plan to have a rooster. I was going to have some laying hens. I'm going to have a rooster. But you know why I decided to get a rooster and go ahead and breed my own? Because the hens make so much noise that there's no way they could fly under the radar. Hens are noisy wenches. Trust me, they can make so much noise. They make more noise than a rooster. I mean, seriously. Especially you get a bunch of hens and they all get cackling. One starts to cackle and the others do, and they all get going at the same time. People are going to know you got chickens. There's no way you can hide it. It's not just a crowing rooster that tells on you. Trust the breeder on this one. Anybody's got chickens can tell you that. So, do your research. Think twice before you go out and rush and get some chicks. If you don't have a place for them to live yet, don't do it. Don't do it. So, that's all I got for you today. And yeah, it sounds harsh, but you know, it is harsh. And it's better I be harsh with you than you kill those poor little babies that you get. Or you not provide a decent environment for hens that you get. And please don't run out and get grown laying hens from a flea market or an auction. You know why a lot of those are theirs? Because they're already diseased or they're molting and they already are too old to lay. And these people will lie to you and they will tell you, oh, these are great laying hens, and they'll be 5 years old and they're really at the end of their laying life entirely, or they quit laying for 2 years and that's why they're selling them, and they know you don't know the difference. So unless you get them from a breeder, a trustworthy breeder, join backyardchickens.com. It doesn't cost anything to join. There are memberships you can pay for that give you a little bit more perks, but join backyardchickens.com. You can read it without joining. Please, please, please. There are all kinds of sections about raising chicks and disease and housing. Please, there's all kinds of coops in there. Pictures of my original coop are in there. Please, 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 please do your research. So that's all I got for you today. And I'm joining forces with Patera about that, so, you know, look at her video too. Chickens don't panic buy. She'll tell you the same thing I just told you. So anyway, it's very cold and rainy out here, and I gotta go in. I'll catch y'all later. Stay safe.